Howdy y'all, and welcome to a beginner's guide to the long dark. In order to survive on Great Bear Island, you must worry about the 4 pillars of survival. Fatigue, temperature, hunger, and thirst. Manage these well and you will be successful in your endeavors. The first day in any survival run is crucial. You will need to find a safe, warm place to sleep, as well as food and water to keep you well nourished. To do this may sound easy, and it very well could be depending on your starting location. If you're a beginner and starting on a difficulty that is below Interloper, then you're in luck. You will have the ability to choose your starting region, whereas on Interloper, you do not. For this, I would recommend somewhere with plenty of indoor locations such as Mystery Lake. Be aware of the wildlife around though, as this region can have both bear and moose spawns. But on Voyager, you will have a 24-hour grace period before any hostile wildlife moves in. As an added bonus for not starting on Interloper, you will automatically start with a bedroll in your inventory. This will mean that even if you don't come across an indoor location, you can still climb into a cave and take a fat snooze there, as any cave is generally going to start becoming warm about halfway in. Keep an eye on your temperature meter to find out where this point is. Speaking of rest, also keep in mind that the more exhausted you become, the less you will be able to carry in your inventory. This will make you more over-encumbered, which will slow your pace. And if you're over-encumbered, you will also lose the ability to climb any ropes. So keeping an eye on your fatigue meter is very important for any time you decide you want to go out and explore. The best way to access and deploy your bedroll, campfire, weapon, or even to drink and eat is by your quick select radio menu. The default controller key binding for this is left bumper. If on mouse and keyboard, hold down your spacebar and the radio menu should appear. It's always a good idea to double check this though when you start a new run. In the event you obtain an affliction that pops up on your screen, you can also get more info on that through the same radio menu. This is done by clicking the body in the very middle. When you get to this menu, you will see all of the extra menus you can scroll through, like your clothing, inventory, crafting, levels and notes, and then your map, which will be blank until you utilize charcoal from a fire pit to map it out. Besides your bedroll, you will also start with a can to help you boil water over a fire, as well as matches and tinder to start that fire. Just place your can on the fire and then select boil water. This will automatically put snow in your can, which you will have to wait for to melt and boil. The last thing you need for the fire, however, is fuel. This can be found in the form of books, cedar or fir wood, small sticks, or fire logs in houses. In the case that you need more tinder plugs to start your fire, you can either use the heads of cattails or navigate to your crafting menu by accessing your inventory. Here, you can go to the fire starting blueprint section and craft more tinder plugs. You can also craft other items like tea to boil, bandages, and antiseptic wrap. Just make sure you have the necessary items to craft what you need. Speaking of having what you need, keep an eye out for rose hips, reishi mushrooms, or birch bark whenever you get the chance. These can help deal with pain, upset stomach, and can even regenerate some lost condition. Having a few emergency stims and go energy drinks on you can come in handy in a pinch, whether you need a short boost to get up a rope or have just been attacked by an animal and need to crawl to safety. To regenerate your health or condition, as it's known in the long dark, you can either consume birch bark tea, which will allow you to recover a little bit of condition over the next few hours, or you can do what most players do and sleep. There's a big old chart on the wiki about how much condition so many consecutive hours of sleep will net you. But really, all you have to know is that the more you sleep without being woken up, the more health you will recover. But be aware, all your critical status meters mustn't be depleted, or else no regeneration will happen. If you go to sleep with any of these depleted, you may lose condition instead, except for the fatigue meter, of course. Also, be careful of how long you sleep. You don't want to sleep too long that you become too thirsty that the regeneration stops. Even though you can get away with more sleep on lower difficulties, a good practice I would recommend is to sleep for 8 to 10 hours max. This will allow you to regain a ton of lost health while also passively prepping yourself to take on harder difficulties. Going back to fire, the first thing I try to do in any survival run is start a fire as quickly as I can, load that thing up with a ton of fuel, and then select it and take about 10 or so torches. This will help keep me a bit warmer when I decide to head out. It will also fend off wildlife if needed. Torches can be very useful when traveling, as they'll give you a small warmth bonus, but if there's strong winds, it's as useful as a spoon to a steak. Make sure to light a torch off a fire or daisy chain them together while traveling. This will minimize your overall match waste. With that in mind, try lighting a torch and using it to start a fire instead of failing several fire starting attempts, thus wasting many more matches in the process. Unless you're doing a specific challenge run, your main goal over the first few days will be collecting warmer clothes, matches, food, and fire fuel until you have a nice little inventory or buffer of supplies where you feel confident enough to start adventuring into other regions. A good little stockpile in a nearby house or base can come in handy just in case a relentless blizzard hits your region. Make sure you maintain your clothing by using a sewing kit and cloth or leather as materials, and keep an eye on where certain clothes are layered. The outermost layer on your person will make clothing with windproof bonuses more effective. So now that I've covered the minimal basics of survival, let's talk about wildlife and dealing with them. In the long dark, you will inevitably come across several types of hostile wildlife. While the cougar you may not come across for a while, the regular wolves are abundant and can seem to come out of nowhere at times. The easiest way to deal with these buggers is by always having a lit torch or flare equipped and ready to be used. But don't throw it at them. I repeat, do not throw it. While this can sometimes work, there is a better method. Now let me tell you, with your lit torch or flare equipped, what you want to do is enter your radio menu and select a stone or any other weapon that you can aim with. This will make you equip that weapon and drop your torch. Now take a step or two back from it and aim your selected weapon. This will trigger the wolf to charge. Now don't be scared, because as soon as it gets up to your torch, the combination of fire and confidence you have while looking down the barrel of the stone will be enough to intimidate it and cause it to flee. No throwing stones required. For any bears or moose you may come across, just back away and don't get too close for now. Wait until you have a rifle or a bow to attempt to take these guys down. But on the other hand, timber wolves may be unavoidable. These are beefier than our regular furry friends and travel in a pack of 2 to 8 wolves. In order to get these fellas to flee, you must drain their morale meter or kill enough that the rest pee their pants and run off. Marine flares work best for scaring them, but in a pinch, regular flares and torches will do the trick. Just make sure to set down a campfire as quickly as possible when they sense you. This will keep them at bay and also allow you to draw already lit torches from the fire. The cougar will come after a predetermined amount of time on each difficulty. When it does spawn into the world, you will get a fun little cutscene, plus it'll show up on your map. As a beginner, I suggest you don't worry about these fellas, but do try to stay away from them, because trust me, it is not worth it. One thing to keep in mind is that if you do find or craft weapons to take down wildlife, you can always craft clothing from their hides and guts. Just make sure to lay them out in an indoor location until they are 100% cured in order to craft with them. Finding already deceased animals can expedite this process. Just keep a knife close by so you can cut them even if their bodies are fully frozen. The last big thing I'll touch on are feats and your in-game skill levels. A feat is a passive perk that grants your player character an added bonus during your survival run. These have to be applied before you begin your new save. So if this is your first run, I'm sorry, but you probably don't have any available. But have no fear, any survival run you play on will automatically count towards the progression of that feat, even if you die. Now your skill levels are specific to each different run. You can find these beside the crafting tab in your inventory menu. With each level gained brings you new perks in that skill set. For example, at fire starting level 3, you will be able to start a fire without using any tinder plugs. Or with cooking level 5, you will no longer become ill from eating low condition food. Now that I've probably over explained enough, let me rapid fire some tidbits for you. Be careful on thin ice. Crafting crampons can extend your time before falling through. Be wary of low condition food. You can and will get sick eventually. This could make you bedridden for at least a day if treated right away. Eating too much predator meat will cause intestinal parasites. Break up that diet with canned foods or other edible materials. Sleeping in caves is a great way to keep the cabin fever affliction at bay. Make sure to be regularly spending time outdoors. Fishing in huts is also great for this. Warming up a bunch of tea before heading out will help you stay warm when traveling. These teas will give your temperature meter a small bump and give you the warming up perk. Finding keys to supply caches can start a fun treasure hunting expedition and can be a great way to learn the region you're in. If you are injured by any hostile wildlife, make sure to check your condition, and if you're bleeding, patch it up with a bandage in your radio menu as quickly as possible. Plus, use Old Man's Beard to make an antiseptic, or find antiseptic in bottles so you don't get an infection. This little icon means you're shielded from the wind, meaning you can light a torch or fire in this location. Check out my shorts for more bite-sized tips and tricks in the long dark. Also comment some more tips and tricks down below. Let's give as many resources to beginners down there as we can. With all that being said, I believe you're ready for your first days as a survivalist in the long dark. Just keep in mind that this is merely a beginner's guide. There are plenty other tips, tricks, and afflictions out there for you to discover and learn about. And always remember, death is not the end, it is simply a lesson learned. Good luck.